Hi, welcome to the last part of this RBAC set of training. We're going to be talking about putting all of those concepts we've learned about in the previous 4 sessions together and how to finally configure access to Applaud views using data security. So this session doesn't introduce any new concepts at all. We'll be talking about roles, responsibilities, permissions, permission sets, grants, and finally data objects and instance sets. All of those topics that we've looked at before are all coming together in this final topic. So there's not much new to go through in the slides, but I will be doing some nice whiteboarding and talking about how Applaud code works in the background and demonstrating this on screen as well. So this is an important topic to finish up this RBAC session on. So as I mentioned, we're not introducing any new topics, so we're going to start straight away with some configuration examples. And what we're going to be talking about now is how you add a new option for a sample role. In this case, we're going to be taking the employee role, and the example we're looking at is this work list layout. So the work list layout is the layout where you can approve or reject notifications. I'm going to be talking about what actually grants that access to that screen within Applaud. So let's go straight away to actually look at this on the screen first of all. I'm going to log in to my favorite user, Barry Erickson. Right, so the topic we're talking about is this one called work list. Just for my own satisfaction, I'm going to get rid of these messages I don't want to see. Okay, so work list is an option that you only see on your own menu. Okay, it's an employee-only menu. Work list, it allows me to approve or reject as a manager the notifications that have come to me for action. So just to demonstrate that, if I go on to someone in my team, I won't see the work list item here. Okay, no work list in there. If I go and search for anybody else in the organization, I'll just choose someone at random. Okay, no work list there. So work list is only available when I'm looking at my own record within Applaud. So this is a layout that has been secured using data security for the employee role. Let's talk through slowly how that is hanging together. So this is the grant that gives you access to that particular screen. So the grant's got a name, it's whatever we type in. It's got a permission set. That permission set or menu, that's the layout for the work list page. All right. So remember from the first set of training we did, that you go to registered views and you see all those layouts on there. The permission set here is simply the layout that you've defined. Now we get on to the meaty stuff. The object, data, context type and access policy. This is a great example where Oracle terminology is designed to confuse you as much as possible. Data context type is basically the instance set. I don't know why they don't call it column instance set, but there you go. So we've got the combination of things here. We've got the object, Applaud data assignment. We're choosing to restrict this via an instance set. So this could say all rows in here, for example, but we're going to be choosing an instance set, and then this access policy is the name of an instance set. So if you just work through what this means, okay, what it means is that I am given access to the employee role, I'm given access to this layout, and I'm given access to this layout when I'm looking at an assignment that's in this instance set. I'm going to go through that again because it's quite hard to get your head around. The grant is against this role, the employee role. It's given access to this screen, the work list screen, through this permission set. And then the key thing of this data security is only giving me access to this layout when I'm looking at an assignment that is in this instance set. And because this instance set defines only my assignments, remember from the previous topic, Applaud HR assignments restricted to the logged on employee, those are my personal assignments as the logged on user. I can only see this layout when I'm looking at my end record. That's what it means. What about manager role? Similar sort of stuff. If I go into manager role, so for example on here I've got a lot of information, personal details, time and absence pay. If I go to one of my team members, I should see disciplinary action on here somewhere. Maybe it's I'm on the wrong database, but let's just check one more time before I move on. Okay, I think we've got a setup glitch on the training environment. I'll look into that soon. But basically, if we were looking at a manager option here, this is an example where we're granting, let's make the screen bigger. We're granting access to manager for a role. So here we've got an example of we're granting a disciplinary layout. In this example, this is going to be an EIT or SIT. We could talk about SITs and EITs in the next set of training. So we're granting access to a layout to all the assignments that are in the manager's hierarchy. In other words, when I'm viewing something in Applaud and I'm looking at an assignment of the person that reports to me from my hierarchy, I'm looking to an assignment that's in this instance set, and therefore I've got permission to look at this layout here. Okay, means I can only access this layout for people that are in my hierarchy. Okay, so just 2 slides for this topic, but actually I want to do a little bit more, and I want to take this forward through some whiteboarding and looking at the Oracle screens, because that's the easiest way to convey this topic. Let's look at this diagram, look at extending this out. So let's add some more permission sets on first of all. We're going to add on here, we're going to add the ones we talked about. We're going to add absence. We're going to add work list. And we're going to add, in this case, we're going to add disciplinary. Right. So 3 different layouts. So let's think about the instance sets first of all. So let's go back to our data object and let's talk about data objects and instance sets again. Okay, so I'm trying to find the Applaud HR assignment. Oops, got the code instead of the name. Okay, here we go. So this one has got a few instance sets. We're going to look at just 2. We're going to look at this one and we're going to look at this one at the bottom. So let's get that whiteboard up again. Alright, so we have these permission sets. So let's think about what we've just talked about. First of all, there's the instance sets here. We're going to be looking at these two. So Applaud HR assignments restricted to logged on employee. Let's think about what that looks like on here. Well, this box represents the set of all assignments. Just write that on again. Okay, so imagine this is every single assignment on the table per all assignments F. Think about how this is represented on here. This sequel here represents just my assignment as the logged on user. Okay, my personal assignment. So what we can do is we can represent that by a little colourful circle there. And that basically represents one assignment. Instant sets assignments of the logged on user. Okay, and then the second instance set we were going to talk about is this one. HR assignments restricted on the logged on manager's report. So these are all the assignments of all the people that report to me, the logged on manager. Alright, so how do we do that? Let's represent that through another bigger circle over here. Okay. Alright, okay. So this is just a simple sort of set diagram, a couple of assignments in there, one assignment, maybe more if you've got multiple assignments. These are assignments of all the people that report to me. Okay, so what about that grant we set up for work list? So that grant was connecting the work list layout to the data object Applaud HR assignment, and then within that assignment, this instance set. So in terms of writing grants on here, that was creating a grant something like this. You're saying this role here, employee role, just make my pen a little bit thicker. It's connected to that work list layout. Okay, and that work list layout is connected to this data object, but further than that, it's actually connected to this instance set down here. Okay, so this blue is the grant. Let's just think about how that works. Barry logs in. He has the employee self-service responsibility, he has the employee self-service role. And when he logs in, he's looking at his assignment that is sitting in here. And because he's looking at this assignment, Applaud determines that, okay, he's got this role, his assignment is in there, and then through this connection, he's got access to the work list layout. Okay, that's how it's working it out. Let's do another one. Let's do absence. So absence. Now in Employee Center, as we've set it up, the employee has access to absence for their own record, and the manager has access to absence for the people in their team. Let's just have a look at that. So you can see on here, I'm actually already looking at someone in my team. I've got access to the absence screen here. I've got access to absence for anybody in my hierarchy. Okay, so this person's reporting to me. I could go down, I can look at, say, Blair's direct reports. Let's have a look at this person, Isabel. So again, she's in my hierarchy. She's not a direct report, but she's further down the chain. Click on absence again. I've got access to absence to look at her. And I'm able to look at her because I'm a manager of her. Or I'm in her I'm above her in the supervisor hierarchy. And again, on my own record, when I'm looking at myself, again, I've got access to absence here. So how's that done? Well, first of all, there's actually going to be two grants that we work with here. Let's choose a different colour. So first of all, there's a grant against absence for the employee role. And the employee role has access to see absence for their own record. So the grant comes down here. Alright, so that means that when I log on and I'm looking at my assignment's in this set here. It says, okay, well, I've got the employee role, and the employee role is able to look at the absence layout and the work list layout for assignments in that set. Therefore, show these on the menu. Now, when I come onto the manager, let's consider the disciplinary one first. Let's jump ahead a little bit. When we were talking about this particular option here, right, at the grant disciplinary view, that gives access to the discipline layout for the HR object, HR assignment object for this access policy here. All the Applaud HR assignments restricted to logged on managers reports. So back to my whiteboard, that's that instance set here. So on screen, that's represented by another grant that joins the manager role to the disciplinary layout, and then the disciplinary layout is going to that instance set. So that means that if I'm viewing someone in my team, their assignment would be in there. Employee Center works out, okay, what can I see for that person? Well, it looks in here, it goes back, it says, okay, that role has access to disciplinary layout for these assignments, show disciplinary. Now let's go back to absence again. Remember that the manager role also has access to all the absences for people in their team. And the way that's achieved is this final grant here. We're running out of room, but if I draw a nice pink line here to here, that goes there. So look at this one. The absence one is quite interesting, isn't it? Because we've actually got two grants against the absence layout, one against the employee role and one against the manager role. And now the big difference, this is where you can start to see where data security is really coming into its own, is that the employee role can see the absence layout for this instance set, in other words, their own assignment, and the manager role has access to the same layout for a different set of assignments. And the effect of that is when you go into Applaud and you query back the menu, when you're looking at your own record, you see absence. When you're looking at your direct reports and people in the hierarchy, you see absence because their assignments are in here. When you're looking at anyone else outside, you don't see absence because they're not in the relevant sets. Let's work that through. Let me just show you with this whiteboard in place. Let me show you how kind of Applaud Center actually works from a more technical level. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to I'm going to log all the way out. Let me log out of this instance. Okay. So first of all, there's my user account. Okay. So at the login screen, nothing's happened. I'm logging in using this user account. Now, you see we've gone straight into Employee Center. And I haven't chosen a responsibility at this page because the way RBAC works, as soon as I log in, it's allocating me these roles already. It already knows that I've got these roles. I don't have to click on Employee Self-Service or Manager Self-Service because these responsibilities are given to my user already. As soon as I log in, as soon as I'm in this page, Applaud knows I've got this role, these roles, and I've got all this security. Okay, that's why I don't have to check anything. Now, let's, I've gone too fast. Let me just go back to the home page and come out of Applaud. Okay, so first of all, when Applaud loads, when it does anything, it's always got an assignment context. You're always doing everything by assignment. Unfortunately, the database is running a little too quickly, but let me see if I can just refresh things. Okay, so whenever you do anything, you see this bar at the top? That basically tells you the assignment you're looking at. And whether I'm looking at myself or someone in my team, that's running slowly. Okay, you see the top, what that is doing, it's evaluating which assignment I'm looking at. And then it evaluates the options I've got to act on that assignment. Similarly, if I go into the search, okay, I click on spinning, determining the assignment I'm looking at. So every time you're doing something in Applaud, you're always doing it within the context of an assignment on screen. All right. So why is this important? Why am I saying this? Okay, well, if I go to the home page again, go back to my own record. What I'm just going to do is come out of here and go back in again. This is a bit where I like the database to sometimes run slowly, because when the UI shows you the spinner, it's showing you it's doing something, and you can kind of talk to that. Okay. Right, when I click on here, it's going to load by default my personal assignment as the user. All right. And the way Employee Center works is when it has an assignment in play, it needs to decide which options you can see on the menu. So the first thing it does is it looks like it on a diagram like this. It says, okay, where is this assignment? Is it in here? It's in here? It's in here? Somewhere else? And based on where that assignment is, it kind of works backwards and says, okay, given the assignment I'm looking at, which options can I take on that assignment based on the role that I have? So I'm going to click on Employee Center. The first thing it's going to do is load up Barry's record at the top. He's doing some initialization. Now, watch that spinner there. See that spinner under his photo? What that is doing now is working out which options I can see for the assignment that we've got at the top. So in this case, our assignment is in here. Okay, we're looking at the assignment in there for this case. So when it spins, when it's spinning underneath the photo, what it's doing is saying, okay, what I want to work out which options I should see for this assignment here. So what does it do? Okay, well, first of all, it works backwards. Okay, so here's the assignment in that, and I can see I'm able to see the absence layout, because I'm able to see that because I've got the employee role, and that employee role is able to see assignment for this absence for this assignment. Does the same for work list. Okay, here's my assignment up here. The work list layout, that's viewable by virtue of having this role, and therefore I should see work list on here. But remember, this assignment is also in the greater instance set the data object, and therefore it also ticks the box for this grant here. Okay, this assignment is in the all rows instance set, if you like, and therefore this grant also succeeds. It says, yes, I can see the overview layout because this assignment here is in this bigger set, and therefore I see the overview page, which is the one underneath profile. Right, let's go to someone on the team. Let's go to someone in my DR list. Click on good old Blair Palmer. So when I click on Blair Palmer, all it's going to do first is going to load the assignment context at the top, and then it's going to work out which options I should see for that assignment. So I'm going to click on him where it's spinning. Now watch it spin under the photo. It's working out the RBAC for this assignment, for Blair Palmer's assignment. It's saying, where is Blair in this sort of nice diagram? What should I be able to see for him? So here's the assignment. This time the assignment is in here. This is Blair's assignment. And it's going up. It says, yes, I should be able to see disciplinary. I should see absence as well, because for all assignments in this set, I can see the layouts that join to that set. So there's absence on there. For some reason, disciplinary is actually missing off of this environment, but hopefully you understand the concept. And again, this assignment here is also in the bigger set, therefore I can see the overview layout as well. So when I go to Profile, there's Overview. And the reason you're seeing Overview is because it's in this, the assignment is here. This instance set is irrelevant for this one. The fact is this Overview is against the bigger set. Now it's the same wherever you see people or assignments. For example, here when I've got that action button, what it's doing now and it's spinning, whoa, spinning there, you see? It's saying what menu options should I be able to see for this given assignment. In this case, Casey Brown, his assignment is out here this time, and therefore I shouldn't see the work list, for example. I think absences may be configured as a global one. Let's just have a look on it. So absences isn't on here. We've got time cards set up as global. So on my manager one, I can't see absence because this assignment is not in that set, and it's not in that set. I only have absence against the assignments in those sets. I don't see work list. The only one I do see is the overview, because Casey's assignment is in this place here, and that's still getting a tick off the overview layout. What this gives you is an immensely powerful way to do really, really flexible, and if you are ambitious, really complicated security, because it's driven in the reverse way that Oracle Standard Security is driven. With our security, we look at the assignment first, and then we work out which options you've got. With standard Oracle security, it's completely the other way around. You go and you choose your responsibility, and then the responsibility determines which options you've got on the menu, and then once you go into there, it then decides which people you're able to see in that particular panel. That's kind of old school security. RBAC is definitely the more modern way of doing security in HR applications. It's the way that security is modeled in Fusion Cloud, for example, Cloud HCM. It's the way we use as well. Much more intuitive way of working with HR processes, much better on mobile, where you haven't got the ability to sort of swap between responsibilities all the time. But it can get a little bit complicated, so it's good for you to try to understand this and maybe even run through the training a second time if you think it needs to settle in. Just understand the concept, what we're trying to get across here. It's really key and important. Exercise time. Okay, this can get a bit hairy because there's lots of grants on our systems, but here's an exercise for 10 minutes or so, and we actually end with a few challenges. If you can answer those challenges or you think you're confident with them, you'll have succeeded in this course. If you find those difficult or don't understand the answers when I go through them, then you may think about maybe giving this recording a second run through. But anyway, I think maybe about 10 minutes or so should be enough for this. I'll pause the training and for about 30 seconds, and when you come back I'll go through the answers. Good luck. Very good. So this is one of the harder exercises going. And if you do struggle on this one, then don't worry, you're not alone. But it is a good one to come back to at some point when you're more competent with roles-based access control. Let's go through the questions. So question 1. Navigate to user management, query back that particular grant and role, giving you a hint because there's lots on our database. Explain what it's doing. Okay. So let's go user management, roles. So we query back XXX AESS, I think it was. Yep. Applaud self-service role, press update. So hopefully this database hasn't changed since the training is written. We're looking for Applaud grant personal information layout, and we reckon it's on page 3. Let's see. There we go, right at the top, lovely. Okay, so there's the grant we're talking about. What does it do? First of all, there's the set it's given you access to, and it's giving you access to this data object and these records coming from the access policy. You'll see this one all the time, actually. In fact, once you start using it, Applaud regularly, you'll look at this and not even think about what it means. But basically, this is the instance set of my own assignment record. So what this is doing, it's giving me access to the personal information layout when I'm looking at my assignment. So if I was to draw that on here, maybe I should do this over here actually. Oh, can't type. Okay, and let's do a quick grant on here. So what this particular grant is doing is joining up that role. So if I go back here, at the top we've got the role, we've got the permission set, which is this one here. That's got the data. That's got all the view functions in, basic details and so on, and then it's joining to this data object here. And then finally, it's using an instance set to restrict down the security, make it more secure based on that instance set, which is this one down here. Alright, basically means that I have access to look at the personal information layout for my record only. So I'm looking at my manager, I can't see it. If I go to my own home page, there it is. This is the personal information layout. If I was to go to a direct report, I wouldn't see it. Similarly to something like work list. Okay, next question. Same for the managers. Look at the grant Applaud grant training history layout to managers and see what that's doing. Okay, so we'll cancel this. UMX XXAS MSS. There's Applaud Manager Self-Service. Press update. So not as many on here. We can probably find the training one, and I think it was this one here. Applaud grant training history data to layout to managers. Is that the right one? Applaud grant training history layout to managers. Yeah, what's this doing? Okay. So what's this doing? So we've got an instance set here, data object. Then we've got this instance set to here. Applaud HR assignments restricted to logged on managers reports. So if I go over to my whiteboard, in fact, it's basically this. Rather than drawing out yet another box, what I do is I'll put training history in there. Okay, so what that is saying is if an assignment's in here, I can see the training history. And we can see that by going to the team, click on something like random, down here we have, oh sorry, it was already on screen in front of me. So underneath profile, training history. Okay, so that basically means because I'm looking at Elizabeth, she's in this set here, therefore I have access to training history because I've got the manager role. Okay, good. Alright, 2 challenges left. You have the requirement to let administrators access the absence view for everyone they can search for. How would you achieve this? Multiple steps. Difficult one, this one, but it really does test if you followed what we're saying. Okay, so first of all, let's assume that the administrator can search for everyone in the business. Okay, so in other words, they have full access to every single person in your business group. So what do we need to do to set this up? Well, again, it's easy to talk to the diagram. First of all, you'd actually need a new responsibility and a new role. So let's do this. Put on a yellow one, and let's say we're using a standard one like, I don't know, your SHRMS manager. So a standard and admin responsibility that is often given out to administrators. So we would need a role underneath that. We'd need to create a new role because Applaud always use roles. So let's create a role called UMX XX. Yes, let's call it admin like that. So the first steps are you need to get some roles sorted out. So let's join those up. So let's say Barry has a user and a access to that role. So this would be through, let me do that through a different color. That's going to be role inheritance there. Now what would we do? Next part. So if that's the first part, you've got a new role here. Now this role here, we've said, has access to search for everybody and have access to everybody in the business group. In other words, they have access to everybody on payroll assignments, assuming you're in one business group. How would you let them access the absence view for everyone they can see? So what you would do is you would of course create a grant. I'm trying to find a different color we haven't used before. Let's see if I can come to here. We'll have some sort of browny color there. Okay, so the grant we would do would join here. You want to give them access to the absence layout. So it's going to come through here. Okay, and then which group of assignments are you giving access that administrator to for absence? Well, you do this. Bang. That's the tricky bit. Because for an administrator, it's very much like overviews for an employee. You can see the absence layout for absolutely everybody. All right. So that's the grant you would create. What's really interesting about this is you can start to give completely different security for different by page level against the same role. So you could say, for example, admins can only see training history for, I don't know, people have actually taken any training, for example, and not even show training if someone hasn't taken it. Or you could show personal information layout for contractors, but not employees, maybe. But all under the same role. That's quite difficult to achieve under standard Oracle security, but it's very different than the way we do our stuff. So that would give you that requirement. So when Barry logs in, because he's got the admin role and all of his grants are set up, you'd see absences for everybody. Last question. If you get this one right, you can give yourself a little pat on the back because this really takes everything to the largest level now. So you set up a new grant to give administrators access to a new IT called benefit statement. Administrators can see this against everyone. managers are given access to a special EIT called disciplinary action. I shouldn't have rubbed that out, should I? If I'm an administrator and manager, what would happen when I review a direct report with this set up in place? Well, let's draw this out first. So first of all, let's give administrators access to that new EIT for everybody. So yet another permission set on here. Benefits statement. Okay, that's an EIT. And let's do a grant. So the administrators can see this for everybody. Okay. So whenever I look at anybody, I'm going to see a benefit statement for them. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to rub out Applaud training history just to keep the document simple. And we said that the managers have a view of disciplinary. Disciplinary. Okay. So that's modelled the RBAC setup we've talked about here. So you've got a grant of administrators for benefit statement for everybody, managers given access to a disciplinary action. So the question is, if I am an administrator and I'm a manager, what would happen when I review a direct report with this setup in place? Okay. And actually it becomes quite easy if you start thinking about your security setup with this sort of diagram. I'd recommend, if you're doing a project for the first time, you maybe draw something like this out. So if I'm viewing an assignment, if I'm viewing a direct report, I'm viewing an assignment that's in here. Okay. So what happens when I view an assignment in here as this guy here? So I'm logged in as Barry, I'm a manager, I'm an administrator. All right, I've got both of those roles. Well, first of all, I see disciplinary action because I'm the manager. I see absence because I'm the manager. I see overview because I'm an employee as well. And I also see benefit statement. So in this particular example, I see disciplinary and benefit statement. If I was looking at my own role here, my own person, sorry, what do I see? I'd see personal information, I'd see absence, I'd see work list, I'd see overview. I'd also see absence doubled up because I'm an administrator, I can see everybody. Doesn't matter, I've basically got access to that twice against my record. I'd also see benefit statement because my employee assignment is in here. If I was looking at the CEO, his assignment would be in there. So it's the CEO there. What would I see then? I'd see the overview layout because I'm an employee. I'd see the absence layout because I'm the administrator. And I'd see the benefit statement again because I'm an administrator. But I wouldn't see disciplinary. I'd only see disciplinary for the people in my team. If you manage to answer that last question, and or maybe even if you understood what I've just said, then you're well on your way to grasping the concepts of RBAC. That's the end of this session. It's a difficult one. It's complicated. This kind of just starts you off. There's more to do in the third suite of training when we go into EITs and custom views. We get into a bit more data security. Key thing here is the concepts that we've tried to get across are, what is a role, what is a grant, what is a permission set, what is an instance set, what is a data object. If you've grasped those concepts, that's a great foundation, because within the Oracle screens it's very difficult to work out what's going on. So understanding the concepts is a key point of this training. But when you come to configure Applaud, look at our default roles as an example. Look at how we've set them up as an example template. Look at options on the menu that you've seen already, like work list, and start picking through how we've set up our data security, because you'll often be able to copy a lot and learn from what we've set up. But the parting thing is that you shouldn't use our setup anyway. You should always create your own roles. You should always start them with XXX. Don't forget about role inheritance. That's a common mistake a lot of people make. When you've created your custom roles, make sure you link them to your custom responsibilities, and then all the security you create off of those roles will be safe when you come to upgrade. that is the end of the tough session. That's the end of the RBAC session. Well done for getting through. The next set of sessions will be on configuring extra information types and custom views, where we also go into a little bit more on data security. But for now, that's the end of this session. Thank you.